The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles started out as a team of 4, but later on, they were joined by a few more turtles, and every turtle brought along a new set of skills that outclassed the original turtles. Jennika was a foot assassin, and her fighting skills came as a blessing for the turtles, and she literally is the big sister of the turtles. Venus came along as the sorceress, and thanks to the dragon scales, she became one of the strongest turtles in the team. But no one on the team is as powerful as Lita. Lita was a cute mutant turtle who was actually a human who came in contact with a mutagenic bomb. She was abandoned by her parents and taken in by the turtles. Later, she became the strongest turtle in the group because she could literally bend time and space. But before we get into the video, we have a small request for you. If you like our content, subscribe to us and like this video. It might just be a simple click for you, but it means a lot to us. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's get started. Backstory of Lita. Lita made her first appearance in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 101. She was a small kid who was abandoned by her parents, and she turned into a mutant turtle after being exposed to the mutagenic bomb that was detonated by Old Hob. Following the events of the mutagen bomb, a wall was created to separate the mutants from normal people. Anyone outside the walls who was turned into a mutant was sent back to this new town, which would be known as Mutant Town. During that time, the Turtles were dealing with the death of Master Splinter. Raph was out of home, acting as a vigilante and saving people from the crimes in the mutant town. Leo was looking after the flowers in the greenhouse, and Mike had found a cat named Clunk and was always sticking close to it. Jennika was also away from home because she didn't know where she actually belonged. Later, Jenny arrives at a food service center operated by Alopex and was having a conversation with her. During their conversation, a small kid arrives at the door of the hot food center and Jenny notices her. When Jenny asks her to come inside, she runs away. Jenny asks Alopex if she knows who the kid is. That's when Alopex reveals that she has seen the kid a few times, but kid is really shy and skittish. She reveals further that there are a lot of kids who are orphaned because of their mutation, and most parents choose to abandon such kids. Jenny was disheartened to hear this and decided to go after the kid. When Jenny tries to talk to the kid runs away and hides under a small carton. Meanwhile, Jennika notices that Old Hob's minions are trying to steal something from a new mutant girl. So Jenny asks the kid to stay silent and takes down the minions of Old Hob with a little help from the new mutant girl who reveals her name to be Mona Lisa. But soon she forgets about the little kid when she is ambushed by Diamond, the human-born porcupine mutant. Later, Lita appears again and befriends the trouble-causing weasels that were let loose by Diamond when he was kicked out of Old Hob's mutanimals. That's when Jennika notices the little girl with the weasels and assumes that the weasels will hurt the kid. But Sally stops Jennika and they find that the weasels are actually little kids and they are sharing some food with Lita. Right about then, Old Hob comes searching for the weasels and Lita runs away again. Old Hob captures the weasels and takes them to give them to Karai and the Foot Clan, but Sally confronts and punches Old Hob and asks him to leave the kids. After Hob leaves, Jennika releases the weasels and calls out to the little kid, claiming that the scary guy is gone. This was the first time Jennika met the little girl and asked for her name, but sadly, the little girl didn't have a name. So Jennika named her Lita after her favorite singer, Lita Ford, and took Lita along with the weasels to Alopex's food shelter. Later, the turtles get over their grief of Splinter's death and plan to open a dojo in honor of Master Splinter and start their own Splinter Clan. When the turtles start building the Splinter Dojo, Jennika brings Lita along to meet with the turtles. Later, when the turtles kickstart their dojo, Lita also becomes a student and learns martial arts from them. After one of their training sessions, a few kids start bullying Lita by calling her weak and claiming that she can't become a ninja. This disheartened Lita and she started crying, so Jennika comes to talk to her. She recounts an event where she was also made fun of and tells Lita about how Master Splinter encouraged her to be a ninja. Lita stops crying after hearing Jennika's story, and then we see a wormhole open just outside the turtles' farmhouse and an adult Lita comes out of it, holding a time specter. We will talk about the story of this future version of Lita in a few minutes. The mysterious disappearance of Lita and the myth of Slithery. After everything returned to normal in Mutant Town and the turtles started getting used to their life at the dojo, another problem came knocking on their door. One day, a mutant rabbit named Laurel came to the doors of the dojo to ask Leo to help her find her missing son, Felix. Laurel reveals that she looked away for a while and Felix was gone, and she fears that he might have been kidnapped. So every turtle volunteered to help find Felix. They decided to print flyers and start patrolling the streets to find Felix. After Jennika escorts Laurel to the door, Lita speaks. She reveals that the Slithery took away Felix. When Leo asks what that is, Lita tells him the myth of the Slithery. The Slithery is a sea monster that comes up through the sewers to kidnap small kids, but he doesn't have legs, so he slithers around, leaving a trail of gross slime. He steals kids when they are alone, takes them to his secret lair, and locks them up in cages. Although no one knows why the Slithery takes the kids, Lita thinks that the Slithery cooks and eats the kids. As soon as Lita finishes her story, the other kids in the dojo start bullying her, claiming that these are just stories told to kids to scare them and they are all fake. This angers Lita and she starts a verbal fight with the other kids, claiming that the Slithery is real. Leo stops the fight between the kids and tells Lita that her story sounds like a boogeyman story that is told to kids to scare them. This angers Lita and she takes out her frustration during the training session by hitting another kid. Leo loses his cool and scolds Lita for her childish behavior. This made Lita angry and she ran out of the dojo. When Leo realizes his mistake, he runs after Lita and encounters Jennika. Jennika tells Leo to go after Lita and apologize. And while on his way out, she asks him to stick Felix's missing flyers across the city. Leo searches for Lita everywhere but is unable to find her. And when he comes to stick the flyers, he is shocked to find that multiple other kids have gone missing recently. Later, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles decide to go on a patrol to find the reason behind the missing children. On the way, Leo asks Jennika if Lita returned, but Jennika answers negatively. Later, we witness Lita hiding in one of her secret lairs when she comes face to face with a Mauser. Upon watching the robot created by Baxter Stockman, Lita is intrigued. She approached the robot, but suddenly an eel-like creature came to the site and took Lita with him. For the next few days, Lita did not come to the dojo, and this raised suspicion among the turtles. So the turtles asked Alopex to take care of the weasels and started looking for Lita. On their patrol, they came across 3 Mausers. Raph destroyed one Mauser, but the other 2 managed to escape. Leo asked not to destroy the other 2 as they might reveal the location of the kidnapped kids. When they follow the Mauser, they lead them to a sewer, and the turtles reluctantly enter the sewers. Meanwhile, when Lita woke up, she found herself inside a pit. She finds Felix and a few other kids in the pit. She says that Felix's mom came to their dojo to seek help in finding Felix. This makes the other kids look up to Lita because she was a part of the Splinter Clan and she does not even hesitate and claims that she's a ninja and will help them get out of there. The kidnapped kids use all the scraps inside the pit to create a human pyramid to get out of there, but failed. Lita saw one of the Mausers and asked if the other kids knew what the thing was. The other kids were unsure, but revealed that the robots could escape through the walls. So Lita tries to catch the Mauser and ride it to escape the pit, but her plan fails miserably and she starts crying. Meanwhile, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles who entered the sewer to rescue the kids started getting ambushed and taken out one by one by the Slithery. When the turtles wake up, they find themselves in the same lair as Lita. When Lita sees Jennika, she rushes to her and hugs her. She also helps Jenny release the other turtles from the Slithery slime. Leo was glad to see Lita safe, but Lita said sorry because she ran away and got snatched. So Jennika hugs Lita and claims that it's no one's fault, but Lita claims she's a bad ninja because she couldn't help the others get out of there. So Leo tells her it's okay because she's just learning. He claims that the turtles are experienced, but still make a lot of mistakes. Later, the turtles find all the other kidnapped kids and take them to safety. On the way out of the sewer, the turtles encounter April, who is here to save them. So the turtles hand over the kids to April and return to take care of the Slithery. When Lita hears that the turtles will take care of the Slithery, she makes a run for it and asks the turtles not to hurt the guy. She reveals that, unlike the myth, the Slithery didn't try to eat them, and it's actually a collector who thinks the kids are just his collections, like the scraps. So Mikey tells Lita they won't hurt the Slithery if they don't need to, and Lita returns to the dojo with the others. Big Lita comes from the future to rescue the turtles from a bleak fate. Big Lita is actually a future version of Lita that comes from a future where the Splinter Clan is disbanded and every turtle goes on their own path. She had become an apprentice timestress and worked with Renette, the current timestress. Big Lita made her first appearance back in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 105. However, she plays a significant role in the stories moving forward from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 113. In Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 113, Lita appears in the 79th dimension of Null Time, where she steals the Time Scepter and comes to the present to prevent the horrible future from ever happening. She arrives at present, but lands near the farmhouse of the turtles and encounters Orokusaki, who had been helping the turtles during their mourning period. Lita was happy to see Orokusaki, and the Shredder revealed that the turtles are in Mutant Town now, and she should go there. She also reveals that he promised Splinter he'd look after the turtles after his demise, but he is unsure how to approach the turtles without looking like an enemy. So Big Lita gives him a few words of encouragement and leaves for Mutant Town. Meanwhile, in Mutant Town, Karai was taking a shipment from Old Hob to train them as foot assassins. However, while in the helicopter, the mutant kids inside the shipment attack Karai and her minions, and her helicopter crashes to the ground. And all of this was being witnessed by Big Lita, so she runs to the dojo to warn the turtles and bring them to save Karai. She claims she's from the future and asks the turtles to come along, but Dawn asks her if she's a timestress now and why she traveled in time. But Big Lita refers to Dawn as Dad and asks them to accompany her. Dawn was puzzled as to why Lita called him Dad, but Jennika doubts her claims and Leo asks her to prove if she's really Big Lita and her reason for coming to this time. So Big Lita proves that she's really Lita by telling how Jennika named her and how Leo always yells at her. She also explains that she's here to ensure Jennika starts a band and the Splinter Clan makes peace with Karai and the Foot Clan. Otherwise, bad things will happen in the future and the Splinter Clan and the dojo will fall apart. She reveals that by 2032, everyone in New York City will become mutants and the city will be known as Mutant City. The Splinter Clan and Foot Clan would go on a war to acquire control over the city. Jenny gives up on her dream of starting her own band and enters the war. Later, Karai is killed, so the Foot Clan launches a full-scale attack on the Splinter Clan, and the turtles slowly start drifting apart. Raph becomes a mercenary ninja for hire. Don becomes a war cyborg and never finishes his novel. Mikey becomes a famous journalist after revealing all the secrets of the Splinter Clan and severs all ties with the others. Leo just leaves and never appears again. Alopex trains the weasels to become deadly assassins and becomes the mortal enemy of Raph. Jennika returns to her old life of crime and becomes a crime boss in the underworld of Mutant City. The rest of the others also die, and Lita is the sole survivor. That's when Renette finds her and takes her in as an apprentice. After Lita told everything about the future, Alopex questioned how forming a band would solve all of this. So Lita reveals that she traced that everything went wayward after Jennika left her dreams of forming a band, and that led to a chain reaction that resulted in this bleak future. Later, Big Lita takes the turtles to the crash site where they save Karai, Koya, and Bludgeon from the crash site and take them to the dojo's infirmary. When Jennika leaves the site, Big Lita follows her and tells her that she is the one who killed Karai. She tells Jennika that she snapped and killed Karai in the future during their battle, but Big Lita and Jennika's conversation was eavesdropped by Raph. Jennika is disgusted by Big Lita's claims and leaves the site. Later, Big Lita comes across the weasels and her younger self. Little Lita was confused upon encountering Big Lita. So Raph reveals that Big Lita is the future version of Lita, and Little Lita gets excited to know that she really will become a cool ninja in the future. Meanwhile, in the infirmary, Bludgeon tells the mutants that they were escorting two mutant kids, Toka and Razar, and asks them to bring the kids to safety. So the team goes on patrol and takes Big Lita with them. But before Lita heads out, Renette comes in front of her in her hologram form and asks Lita why she stole the Time Spectre and starts scolding her. But Lita dissolves the hologram and goes after the turtles. When the turtles are on patrol, Renette appears again, scolds Lita, and asks her to return. But Leo convinces Renette to give them a week to fix things and Lita will return after a week. Renette agrees and leaves. Later, the turtles locate Toka and Razar and manage to contain them, but in the midst, they come across Bebop and Rocksteady. To stop Bebop and Rocksteady from attacking them, Big Lita proposes a musical duel with Jennika's band, and the duo agrees. They claim that if Jennika wins, they will leave Mutant Town, but if they win, they will take over Sheena's club and play there every night. So slowly and steadily, Jennika starts creating a new band for her musical battle against Bebop and Rocksteady. Before Jennika's show, Leo and Big Lita had a heart-to-heart conversation. Big Lita mentions that Leo needs to find two people named Bob and Carmen and train them because they will be important in the future. At the show, Jennika stunned everyone with her performance, and the band she formed also played as well as she did. Thus, Bebop and Rocksteady leave even without performing because they know they will lose. Later, Karai thanks the ninjas for taking care of her, and the two clans come to a truce. But Leo claims they shouldn't take Toka and Razar with them because they are just kids, and Big Lita volunteers to take the kids to the future. So Karai agrees to their demands. Now that Big Lita is successful in her mission here, she decides to leave and return to her timeline with Toka and Razar. She opens the portal to leave, but before she leaves, she thanks everyone and tells little Lita a secret. She takes Toka and Razar with her, but tells them one last thing. She asks the turtles to be nice to Orokusaki when they see him again. As Big Lita enters her timeline, the turtles and everyone get a glimpse of a future where the war between the Splinter Clan and the Foot Clan never happened, and everyone is happy. Big Lita's suicide mission to save Donatello. Big Lita makes another appearance during Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 146 to help her dad, Donatello, in his fight against the Armagon. Armagon is a shark-like creature that literally devours time and is responsible for the death of the turtles in the future. So Don travels to the future to meet his future version to seek its help. But as it appears, this future is not the future they saw when Big Lita fixed the timeline. It was a bleak timeline where the Splinter Clan had fallen apart. So Dawn, Venus, and Bob reached out to the future Dawn to seek his help. But the Armagon arrived there first and probably destroyed the future Dawn. It is about to kill the young Dawn, Venus, and Bob, but the future Leo appears out of nowhere and sacrifices himself to save the trio. Right about then, a portal opens and Big Lita, Renette, and an old Raph come to the trio's rescue. Big Lita takes Dawn, Venus, and Bob with them to the 79th dimension of Nulltime, and Renette scolds Dawn for messing with the timeline. Dawn also notices that Big Lita has become a real timestress rather than an apprentice. When older Raph starts behaving weirdly, Lita reveals that Raph also tried a lot of time traveling, which messed with his brain, and he has become senile. Dawn proposes to go to the time before the creation of Armagon to prevent its creation, but Renette says that's against the temporal law. Lita reveals that the time stream is fragile and just one small event can snowball into a colossal disaster. That's why they even formed a time prison to stop repeat offenders. Dawn asks Renette to help him, and she promises she will, but first, they need to prepare to protect the temple from Armagon. Lita arrives at the ritual chamber and helps Renette create a protective shell outside their temple to protect it from Armagon's attack. Soon after, the Armagon attacks the temple and tries to devour it. Renette and Lita manage to hold the attack for some time, but Renette knew they wouldn't last long, so she asked Lita to send a message to Lord Simultaneous and the Council in case the temple is destroyed. Lita runs, but instead of sending the message, she opens a portal and sends Dawn, Venus, and Bob to a different timeline. Meanwhile, Armagon manages to swallow the temple, and Renette and Big Lita probably met their demise here. But we don't think Big Lita or Renette died here because they are the keepers of time, but we don't know what happened to Big Lita. All we can do is wait for the next issues of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to learn about the fate of Big Lita. Marvelous verdict. Although we saw Lita being swallowed by Armagon, we are confident she would have escaped on time. Despite being the newest mutant turtle in the team, Lita has become one of the strongest by acquiring godlike time-bending powers. We certainly love her character and can't wait to see more of her. Even though we are curious to learn about the fate of Big Lita, we are much more interested in witnessing Little Lita because she is and will be one of the cutest members of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. With that being said, if you like our content, like it and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.